Hello there, and a warm welcome. I'm hosting a workshop in 3 weeks' time or so about tapping for a lighter life. And that topic came about because there were a couple of situations, in fact, more than a couple of situations in my life that made me feel really, really heavy for quite a long time, actually. One of them was a project that I was working on that's not my core business and that I said yes to earlier this year. And I'd been working on it, and it was feeling very, very difficult for me. And the prospect of having to continue with this at some stage started feeling so heavy to me that I just actually thought, I don't know how I can continue with this, but I'm in it now. I made a commitment. I've got to stick to it. And yet my body was saying no. It's like, no, I can't do this. And my mind was saying, but I committed, so I've got to keep on and finish the project. Some of my talents on Clifton Strengths Finder is Clifton Strengths, actually, not Finder, is are things like achiever and responsibility. And those talents want to finish things and tick it off the list. And I was not able to because my body said no. So that's the one thing that made me feel very heavy. Another thing was that I am helping my mother, who is 82 years old, to complete her tax for this year. This is in South Africa. Now, the tax also authority in South Africa called SARS. Um, oh my goodness, I don't know how they decide to audit an 82-year-old person who has earns like gets a really small little pension and anyhow, just me trying and trying what I can and getting somebody to help me with it. But that person didn't feel to me like she was really knows what she was doing. And I kept not actually trusting her decisions and the things that she was doing. So I was carrying a heavy burden of that thing. It was like at night, I just couldn't put it down. And sometimes I fell asleep, and then 5 minutes later, I woke up with a beating heart thinking about this tax problem and what I was going to do about it. Now, both these things were carrying on more or less at the same time, and for a few months that they had an overlap. The tax problem was a shorter problem than the other big project, but both of them made me feel so, so heavy. And then every time I opened Facebook or I read a news article here and there were just so many things in the world that kept sort of piling things on my shoulders and making me feel, what on earth is going on in the world? It just always so many, many, many layers of heaviness that I felt. And if you're a sensitive person to an HSP, highly sensitive person, you'll know what this feels like. When there are heavy things, it feels like you just can't do much about it, and it keeps happening, and we keep hearing about it. It feels difficult. And so I had this idea about I want to contribute to some more lightness in the world and to create this tapping workshop called Tapping for a Lighter Life. So if there are some heavy things for you that make you feel, oh, life is not so great to live at the moment, and there's nothing to get up for, or everywhere you turn, there's just more bad news. Maybe you're carrying a heavy responsibility, like I was carrying for a while, and feeling like you're not allowed to put it down. You can't say no. You can't change your mind. You've just got to see this through to the end, but it's a heavy thing to carry. Or if you're carrying a health issue and that feels like a heavy burden and you maybe feel hopeless about it. And there's so many other things. Grief can make us feel heavy. Regret can make us feel heavy. If any of that is true for you, I really want to warmly invite you to just come, and I always laugh when I say join us because it sounds like we're all in pieces and somebody's going to put us back together and join all the parts of us. But you know what I mean. Come and join us, a friendly group of tappers who tap along, and I'll lead the group, and we're going to just put down some of those heavy burdens. Um, because what happened, I want to explain it in this way. When I was thinking about that big project that I was busy with and not enjoying anymore, it's not only just the project then that we are dealing with, or the heavy thing, the situation or the circumstance, but we have all these emotional layers that pack on around the thing, around the event or the circumstances. And then that becomes the heavy burden. If we can just deal with the thing and um, take care of it, and just, if I could just carry on working with none of those heavy emotions, it would be so much easier. But it's the heavy emotions that we sort of collect along the way, because maybe it presses on some buttons, or it just doesn't, the thing isn't in our value system. So we keep on sort of pressing against our values when we think about doing this thing. Or we need to actually learn to say no, and not saying no is not actually good for us. So that feels heavy in itself. So what I realized with two of these projects is I was playing a little game in the drama triangle, the dreaded drama triangle, DDT, like the poison. I don't know if you've heard of the dreaded drama triangle, but it is a really great way to understand some of our behaviors and the behavior of other people, and how we relate to problems and to other people. So I'll just show you a little picture of the drama, the dreaded drama triangle. So over there, it's a triangle where the bottom is the victim role. There are three roles in this drama triangle. And the bottom role, where the triangle points down, is the victim. It's the one that feels, oh, I can do nothing about this. Life is heavy. It feels terrible. There's no hope. I feel like people are doing it to me. There's nothing I can do yet to change it. I don't know what to do. And we feel hopeless and despairing in that place. And that's where I was sitting for a long time about both those problems that I mentioned, the project and the tax. And then just very recently, I became aware and I went, goodness me, girl, what is happening here? You know all of this stuff and you're not listening to your own inner wisdom and your knowledge about this. So let me just talk you through the other two roles. The other role here on the triangle, and the other two are sitting on top of the triangle. The one is the perpetrator. And that is the one that we feel, that's the one that's doing this to me. It could be that we feel a person is doing something to us and making us feel bad, or put that person or that situation puts me in this position. And so I feel I'm the victim then, and the perpetrator is the the situation or the person who made us into this, feel so sort of like a victim. It's the only way I can come up with. And then the other role is the rescuer. So we often want somebody to rescue us. And rescuers, I'm a rescuer. I fully know that that's the role I often play. Rescuers just want to make it okay for other people. They don't like see other people suffer. So they go out and look for people who are victims and try and rescue the victims. But when I'm in the victim position, it's very hard to rescue myself. I want somebody else to do it. And no rescuing was coming my way. So I kept having this dance on the drama triangle, what also happens with the drama triangle, interestingly enough, is we go on the drama triangle not only between us and others, or us and situations, but inside of ourselves. So, because I was feeling like such a victim and I felt helpless and powerless to change it, I started getting angry and like a perpetrator inside to the situation, to the tax people in South Africa. I get very angry with this project that I was working on, and with the person who was paying me for this project, and found all sorts of fault with the way that they were doing things and the tax people were doing things. But still, I'm in the victim position. If I keep doing that, I'm like a victim. But now I turn into the perpetrator and I get angry with them, and I, want to lash out. And none of that's very useful. Doesn't get me out of the problem. So there is a way that this drama triangle can be flipped on its head. and where we can get out of the drama triangle. And let me let you know about that one. So the victim position. Oh, let me, before I go there, let me just say this as well, is none of this is because we have a victim consciousness or that there's anything wrong with us. All of these roles on the dreaded drama triangle are there because of trauma responses. It's ways that we have learned to behave in the world or to be in the world as a result of trauma in our lives. Every single one of us have had trauma. Not one single person escapes it. And it doesn't have to be major trauma like huge physical or sexual abuse or anything like that, but it's the little moments in a child's life where they feel it's not like an unexpected response from a parent. It's a dramatic moment. It was like they felt emotional, the child. They felt isolated and they had no strategy to deal with it. And those moments sort of come along and the child has to sort of find a way through this sort of drama and mess. And if a parent isn't there to help them to regulate and to find a way through, they have to come up with a strategy themselves. And so often then we start feeling like a victim, like there's no ways I can effect any change here. There's nothing I can do. So we feel helpless, and that's where the victim kind of response is born. Or we start having rescuer tendencies, like we want to make it okay for a parent who's not okay. If we have a parent with alcoholic tendencies or other addictions, or they're just a very sensitive person and they don't look like they're coping with life, we start to become the rescuer to the parent, and that's a strategy that we learn. Same with a perpetrator. Sometimes we get very, very angry as a child, and we learn that the strategy of getting angry and being forceful and forcing our way through is what helps us, that gets us through situations. So that's where these roles are born. We're not wrong. There's nothing wrong with us. It's just roles that we play. And when we're on that drama triangle, we just keep going from one to the other, turning it on ourselves as well. And it isn't very useful at all, but there is a way out of it. And it's really described in this beautiful little book by David Emerald, The Power of TED. And the TED stands for the empowerment dynamic. And so here's how the empowerment dynamic works. It's when we, instead of a victim, we become a creator and we decide, okay, this victim place is not working for me. What do I want? So we start with that question and we go, this is not what I want. I don't want this project that's hateful and that I don't want to work on. And I also don't want this tax situation to carry on. So what is it that I want here? And a creator is the one that says, okay, I'm going to create. I'm going to step out of the victim role and I'm going to decide what I want, and I'm going to take baby steps in that direction. And that's all it sometimes has to take, is just a few baby steps there. And as we get to a different place, new kind of situations or things will show up for us. Sorry, I've got hairs in my eyes today. So the victim can turn into the creator of his life. The rescuer, instead of, if we have the tendency to rescue everybody else, we can turn into a coach. A coach asks questions, and a coach believes that everybody inside them, everybody else a, is a creator as well. And we, as a rescuer, can turn into a coach who can help the creator just find the wisdom inside of them. So instead of rescuing people and doing everything for them, we can help them to find the wisdom and the answers inside of them, and for them to take those baby steps. It's not for us to decide what they should do. And then the perpetrator can turn into a challenger. So instead of seeing the situation as the perpetrator, a person that's doing it to me, or a situation that's doing it to me as a victim, we can see that situation as a challenge. What is it challenging me to become or to learn? And if we step out of the drama triangle into the empowerment dynamic, there's so many other things that can happen. And so I'm happy to report that I used this in this recent two situations for myself. I just started thinking, so what is it that I really want here? What do I want? I want my mother to have tax back because she's owed that by the tax man. And I want the situation that the circumstances to change, that it's going to be easier for me, because I was carrying such a heavy burden to try and get this done and I didn't know how. So I found another person to help me with tax. The first person, I just didn't trust the person very much. So I found another person. And since I found that person, things have just started rolling. The ball has started rolling. So, and every time I get a new email or something about that situation, I get a little bit of panic. It's like, oh no, this is not working out. And then I immediately remind myself to get back into the creator. What is it that I want here? I want it to work out this way. And since I've started doing that, just getting back to what is it that I want here, I'm feeling like other different balls are rolling here. There's more creative energy coming into the situation, and it's not me that has to sort it all out. The same with the other situation, the project. I was finally able to say, I'm sorry, I can't continue with this. And we were able to come to a very, very amicable agreement. And now I no longer have the burden of this thing that my body doesn't want to do. But my talents keep saying, you have to finish what you started. So, and with that one as well, I kept thinking, what is it that I want? I want to be free of this, and I want us to have a good relationship. So it was sort of standing above the situation and looking from above and saying, what are the elements that I want here? Not necessarily how I'm going to solve this. And then I just took baby steps towards that. And through all of this, if I didn't have EFT tapping to help me manage all the heavy emotions around all of this, I would not have been able to get to the place where I was able to remember the dreaded drama triangle and see my own behavior, how I was just flip flopping from perpetrator to victim to, wanting to rescue myself, but not being able to. So I really want to just warmly invite you, if there's some heavy situations in your life, come and tap, come and tap. It is always, always so very wonderful to experience how people put down some of the heavy burdens, big emotions, and then feel lighter and brighter. When we are feeling lighter, we can think, our brain can think much, much, much more clearly. Situations, or how I was able to suddenly start thinking, oh my goodness, there's this drama triangle. I'm playing all the games in the drama triangle at the moment. And if I had not been tapping and clearing up and clearing out those emotions, I would still have been playing in all those heavinesses. So since I know what it's like to come out of a very heavy place into a lighter place, I want to warmly invite you to come and tap with me in tapping for a lighter life. And I may even share a little drama triangle exercise there if we have time for that. Depends always on how the tapping goes, but I would love to support you as well to feel lighter about a burden that you're carrying. I'll put the details of the workshop in the details of this video. And if there's something that appeals to you, feel free to reach out if you have questions. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. And if you're watching this video, maybe and the workshop is way over, please reach out. Maybe I've got another workshop going on at that time. And I look forward to meet you. Life can feel lighter, and tapping is such a great help for that. Thank you for listening. My name is Liesel Teversham, and I work with sensitive introverts. I love being able to help them lighten their life and their burdens. And I hope to meet you. Thank you.